acknowledge you in the course of this morning. For this opening ceremony, we have some distinguished guests who are seated at our head table, and I will quickly refer to them, but I'll ask that you hold your applause until I finish. So closest to me and to your left is our very own Dr. Keith Lowe, the co-founder and visionary of the Toronto Hakka Conference. To his right, Hakka people are always rebels, and they never fall in trouble. Always mavericks among the Hakka. Okay. Immediately to Keith's right is Dr. Andrea Davis, who Keith will be introducing soon. The next person to Andrea's right is a face who's very familiar to us, Honorable Dr. Vivian Hoy. People I just organized here. Okay. And next to Dr. Foy, we have this morning's keynote speaker. We have our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Shulun Kong. And then immediately to the right, we have Donette Chinloy Chang, wife of the late and very well-loved G. Raymond Chang. Okay. Thank you. So once again, this conference will provide you with two very jam-packed days of information about Hakka culture and identity. What is truly unique about the Hakka conference, the Toronto Hakka conference, is that it was the first and the largest North American Hakka conference that is aimed primarily at the Hakka diaspora. For many of us overseas Chinese here today, our Hakka forefathers left China many generations ago. And while we proudly identify as Hakka, the reality is that we also identify with many other cultures and communities. So the question for many of us remains, what does it really mean to be Hakka when your everyday language is English, French maybe others? And we all struggle to say even a few words in Hakka. What does it mean to be Hakka when you secretly prefer pizza over Hamburg guy? When your body moves to Beyonce and Calypso, but you cannot tell the difference between a Hakka mountain song and a Cambodian fertility chant. As an overseas Chinese, does it matter anymore to be Hakka? At a time when even young people in Hakka towns and cities in China itself start to speak more Mandarin than Hakka. Over these 2 days, with the help of our keynote speakers and the many breakout sessions, let's take this opportunity to think more deeply about why we are all here and why do we yearn to belong to the global Hakka community, which is said to be about 80 million people. On Sunday afternoon, before we formally bring this conference to a close, we will be inviting the three keynote speakers and Dr. Keith Lowe to a panel discussion to explore this question. Again, what does it really mean to be Hakka for overseas Chinese? So anyway, without further ado, let me invite Dr. Keith Lowe to the podium.
So, good to be here 20 years after our first conference.
Yeah.
More handsome.
I should say, Senator Poy looks more beautiful.
Yes.
At the very beginning.
Yes.
Now, we have grown up here in Canada, and I've been to a number of ceremonies, graduation ceremonies, including my own son's graduation ceremony here at York University, and it has become the custom of these places of great learning to begin their ceremony with acknowledging that we stand on ground that is truly owned by the native peoples of Canada, and perhaps people before them. We don't know. We come ever closer to the roots of our humanity that way. So, in the name of my ancestors, in our current village of Loshihap, before that in our village in Meijien, in our village of Dunshan, and before that in north of China, the 185 generations that we can name, I welcome you. I welcome you on behalf of your own ancestors, as far as you know, and as far as you will discover in these next 2 days. I wish you many blessings on behalf of these ancestors that we have. And to begin in this great seat of learning,
do we have some more volume, please? More volume?
and as we begin in this interesting and innovative center of learning in Canada, I would like to call on the chair of the Department of Humanities of York University, which is one of the largest areas of study here in this university, and chaired by one of the youngest persons, a sister of mine from Jamaica.
Yeah.
A sister of mine who, with colleague Professor Carl James, has been carrying the flag of Caribbean studies here in this university. Herself and Carl James provided a book which was our main reference during the 50th anniversary of Jamaican independence. And I want to applaud their efforts to bring to the seat of learning these very important, but often, in the old days, were often ignored. So, our people are coming up in all respects. And Andrea is one of those who we can look to as blazing the trail for us. So I'd like to call on her to welcome you to the 5th Toronto Hakka Conference.
It is my warmest pleasure to bring you greetings on behalf of York University. This is my first opportunity actually to share this conference with you physically, so I regard that with much honor. As I walked in this morning with someone in the audience, and he turned to me and he said, "Are you 1/6 or 1/8?" I'm afraid I can't make any such claim, but as Keith explained, I am Jamaican, Canadian, and so I consider in many ways that this is part of my history, part of my community, and that I am among families. It was my absolute pleasure to collaborate with Dr. Lowe and Karen and the other members of the team to make this conference possible this year. I think it was a fortuitous opportunity to have a Jamaican chair. This was my very first year as chair of the Department of Humanities. I want to applaud Dr. Lowe and the other organizers for their commitment to a vision of a multicultural Canada that is really grounded in our collective love of this country, but also recognizes our intersecting histories that bring us together from many, many different places across many seas. In this instance, China, the Caribbean, India, continental Africa, but but brought together by those memories to celebrate together our differences, because there are those, but also the commonalities that ground and root our presence here and across the globe as we continue to understand together what it means to share this journey on this earth. I want to also acknowledge the importance of this kind of collaboration for York University, that what we do as researchers, as scholars, as teachers, should not be done in a silo, but should really reach beyond the classroom to connect to the real world. That we should be training students to be full global citizens that can enter the world and have a full understanding of who we are. And so for those reasons and many others, this is important to all of us in this room. I want to just close by thanking a few people at York for making this possible. The East Asian Studies program housed in the Department of Humanities, and my staff, especially Elena Sibelko and Savitri Ramchatan, who worked many, many hours with Karen to organize all the logistics of this event. The Office of the Dean of the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, and the Associate Dean, Global Engagement and Community, Narda Razak, who was unable to be here today. And Professor Carl James, the Jean Augustine Chair in Education and the Director of the York Center for Education and Community. There are also some York students here, I believe, I hope they're here already, who will be participating in 2 panels, and so I welcome them as well. Thank you so much for this work, for this transformative work. I look forward very much to sharing the rest of the day with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Davies and Dr. Lowe. One of the constant shining lights in our conferences since it started in 2000 has been the Honorable Dr. Vivian Foy. I know she was not prepared to make a speech here, and I know she graces us just by her presence alone. But if you'll indulge me, I will make her a little bit uncomfortable. And ask her to come up just to say a few words.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was here right from the very, very beginning.
Yes.
In 2000, and I'm still here. So hopefully, with the next Hakka conference, I'm still kicking around. And I want to say that for those who don't know, I am a genuine Hakka. And you probably would know that Hakka women are very strong women. And my mother, and my father used to tease her, "You women with big feet." And that was my mother. And I can say that I've been to her village, I've been to her grandfather's house, and the village is called Hobakyu. And I bet many of you haven't been back to your Hakka village yet. And it's very, very interesting. One year, one of the Hakka conferences that was held at Christmas time, in fact, we were not able to be here, and because we were visiting my mother's grandfather's village. And what we did was we took pictures of the house and of the gun tower that he had that was connected with his house. I guess he was quite aggressive, or he was just there to protect the village. And we sent pictures back. Do you remember that, Keith? Yeah, and we emailed them back so that the conference attendees could see what a Hakka house looked like. And also my great-grandfather also, we believe, went to the West Indies because he obviously he did well, but his wife used to say he never talked about what he did when he made his money, but he had very rough hands. Anyway, welcome to the 5th Hakka Conference, and have a great time this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Foy. Almost 2 years ago, we lost a most distinguished Hakka son, Mr. G. Raymond Chang, Order of Canada, Order of Jamaica, or Ray, as he was affectionately known to many of us. We of the Toronto Hakka Conference proudly remember his participation and support of previous conferences. 3 days after what would have been his 66th birthday, Ray was posthumously awarded the Career Achievement Award by the 20-year Morningstar Awards, which celebrates the Canadian investment industry. Morningstar Research, Inc. is a Canadian subsidiary of Chicago-based Morningstar, Inc., a leading provider of independent investment research in North America, Europe, Australia, and Asia. I'd like to now turn your attention to this video. I'm just wondering if we can get the lights dim.
My father is inspirational, truly, and everything that he did as a businessman, as a philanthropist, as a father, as a friend. He did so many wonderful things. He helped out so many people, and he did it quietly. He didn't ask for recognition.
Ray Chang, of proud Hakka Chinese descent, was born the 5th of 12 children in Kingston, Jamaica. He honed his entrepreneurial skills at a young age, working at his mother's bakery and alongside his business-minded father. Ray emigrated to the U.S. in 1967, then came to Canada to earn his engineering degree at the University of Toronto. He also earned his CA and CFA. Ray started his career with Coopers & Lybrand. Then in 1984, he obtained equity ownership with some partners in Universal Savings Fund Management, a small mutual fund company that at the time managed $5 million. This company later grew into CI Financial, which in 2014 had over $100 billion in assets under management.
The first memory I actually have of Ray was of him doing the CFA. And he was talking to me about it, and he was correcting the actual CFA manual. And the first thought that I had at CI was, wow, this might not be the place for me. Here's a guy who's correcting the CFA manual.
Ray started at CI as Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, then became President and CEO in 1998, and then Chairman and CEO from 1999 to 2010. Under his leadership, CI became the second largest publicly traded mutual fund company in the country.
His legacy at CI is a big one. And you know what I would say? It's about being helpful. He was the one person that, you know, would go out of his way to help somebody, and the things that he would do to try to be helpful to them, especially in urging them to continue to educate themselves. I would say his legacy was one of being just the most genuinely helpful person that's ever walked through the doors of CI.
If I think of leadership as knowing when to step forward and when to step back, and actually doing it, and I look back at the opportunities, being able to identify the opportunities and then stepping forward and actually doing what is necessary. That is what brought me here. And more recently, knowing when to step back and letting somebody better than I am continue.
Ray was not only a successful businessman, but a world-class philanthropist. Him and his wife Donnette donated countless hours and tens of millions of dollars to organizations such as the University of the West Indies, the Royal Ontario Museum, and Toronto Western Hospital.
Fair play and equity were his hallmark of who Ray stood for. He thought that giving people a fair chance and giving them a hand up was the best that you could do for people. He was all about community, community, community.
And then one day I got a call from Mr. Chang, and he said, I want to come and talk to you, And I said, okay. And of course, not knowing too much about the business world, I didn't realize that he was an up-and-coming and about to be sort of explosively sort of upwardly mobile businessman. And Ray said to me, I want to support education and healthcare. And I said, maybe it's worth supporting that. I think they will do good. And he said, fine. So it was almost $1 million. And I remember that because that was the start of something good for Toronto Western Hospital.
During his lifetime, Ray received the Order of Canada and the Order of Jamaica. He was an outstanding global citizen whose footprint in the world of philanthropy is simply remarkable. Education is something that he held close to his heart and believed that it should be accessible to all, regardless of income. Ray became the Chancellor of Ryerson University from 2006 to 2012. His love of learning was infectious. He attended class with students and was nicknamed the Students' Chancellor. The G. Raymond Chang School of Continuing Education was named in his honor.
People like Ray and the contributions that they made live on well past the individual, and Ray's name and Ray's spirit is as much part of Ryerson as any spirit or any fabric of the university. Part of Ryerson was built by Ray, and the part that was built by Ray is beautiful and wonderful, and it will last forever.